Hey everybody, this is David Skrika. So stock chart of the day today is going to be copper. So I had a few people asking if I'm bullish on copper, etc. I don't like to chase. And the time to buy copper was probably last fall when it was like 350. But copper is interesting because it is getting near all-time highs and no one seems to care. So copper is known as Dr. Copper for those of you who are unaware. So, and the reason it's known as Dr. Copper is essentially because they say that it predicts copper is very economically sensitive, and even more so now because now it's used in EVs. But it's used in like wiring for houses, for infrastructure for building roads. So basically, if buildings going on, in buildings, when we had more like phone lines and stuff like that, it was used in telecommunications, but it's still used in all kinds of other things as well. So they used to call it Dr. Copper because when things were good, look at 25 to 2006, we had this boom during the housing boom. Copper went from $1 to 350, and then it crashed during the financial crisis when obviously the recession, and then when everything kind of reinflated and the economy came back a bit, it went up. And look, it's not perfect. The economy kind of chugged along, but the economy was not great for a while. And then we can see after 2020, again, when all the stimulus happened and the economy recovered from COVID, boom, copper went from $2 to nearly $5. Now, the one thing that's kind of interesting in copper in the last 20 years is that when you hit these new highs, like when you broke the 2006 to 2008 high, didn't really break out and then like go up a lot. So copper is not like gold or silver when it breaks this resistance level, boom, it goes up for another year or two and it goes up. Like when we broke these highs, it went up for a few more months and copper went from about 375 to about 450. And then when we broke these highs here in 2020, it went up for about another year and it went to 5. So even if we break 5, that's no guarantee that copper is going to go to 6, 7, $8 a pound and everything is going to boom. So, probably because we are so late in the economic cycle and et cetera, and copper's not so overbought, maybe it would go to 5 or 550 and probably top out. So I'm probably not as bullish, partly because, we're seeing the economy slow down, et cetera, et cetera. Like probably what really all of these things need, they need some kind of bust or decline in equity markets, and then the Federal Reserve to come in and, print money, cut rates again. And that's when you'll really see a true epic bull market and all these things. So another thing I always watch, people talk about the gold to silver ratio. I watch the copper to gold ratio, and I find this is a very, very interesting ratio because right here, when copper was $1.40 and gold was holding up in 2009 at over $1,000, roughly $1,000 an ounce, I made the comment. So as gold was trading roughly 70 times the price of copper. I made the comment that, look, that I would want to melt down my gold and turn it into copper. And I remember one guy at my conference, this conference in 2009 in Nassau, Bahamas, got really angry. He's like, how can you say there was a big gold bug, right? Well, if you go look at this, copper outperformed gold by nearly 200%, from 2009 to 2011. And the same thing here, when the copper gold ratio got to this extremely low level for copper again outperformed gold by 100%, went up twice as much. So we're still at a relatively historically cheap. You can see again, like when the copper gold ratio got really high for copper, really low for gold. Again, over the next 2 years, copper really underperformed. Copper went down more than 50%. Gold went from 1,000 to 700 and already was back at 1,000 by early 2009, where copper went from 370 to I think 130, or actually we'll go back and look at the actual price of copper. Yeah, actually to 125. So that $4 to 125. So that copper to gold ratio really worked back then and can work in kind of the trades. And you can see these ratios at extremes can work short term. Like when the ratio got extreme here, boom, copper really underperformed. When it got extreme here, boom, copper really outperformed. Same thing in 2020. Copper wasn't really overly cheap here in 2016 because gold had fallen a lot too. So you have to always take that what they're doing together. So we're still pretty cheap, but I don't think we're at one of those extreme things where you want to, again, melt down your gold and turn it into copper. So yeah, right now, and if we go look at, Freeport Copper, we're going to look at a couple large cap stocks. You can see that's broken out. But again, you can see it's broken out a couple times and these breakouts hasn't led anywhere, and it's expensive, so I don't really want to buy Freeport at these levels. This is, sorry. This is an excellent copper company. This is the kind of company you want to buy, but you see Southern Copper, actually, this is just tells you sometimes you just need to buy things when they're cheap. I was looking at this when it was $20, $30 years ago, and now it's 118. And you can see, but look, it's going to have some kind of decline and probably get cheap again, but you don't want to chase it at these levels. But this would be an excellent play if copper can go down in price. So anyhow, I just kind of want to leave it at that for now. And I just wanted to show you that copper is getting near all-time highs, has been strong as of late, but I just don't find it very appealing here because where we are in the economic cycle, the fact that it's not cheap, et cetera, So, and like these copper juniors haven't really moved, but are they? Do you really want to chase, or do you really want to buy things here? Well, again, when it looks like we're starting to slow down in the economic cycle, and at some point that will probably hit the copper price. So that's about it. But of course, if you do have a well-run mid-tier or junior company at $4.50 copper, you can make a lot of money. So hopefully they hit something and the stock price does something, but I just don't want to really buy anything here. It's kind of like I said with uranium. It's had its run. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap either. And I would really like to see, again, if there's some kind of 20 to 30 to 40% drawdown in the stock market at some point, you're going to see copper fall back to $2.50 to $3. And that's when you want to buy. So everybody take care. I hope you enjoyed this update.